So today we're going to take a look at coterminal and reference angles. So you can title this one Coterminal and Reference Angles. So first thing we're going to do, and I'm going to erase that so I can write a little bit on here. Up here we have 90 degrees, so what you guys know that, 180, 270, and 360. Now you're going to add a couple things to that. In that first arrow that you have right here, oops, that doesn't look like an arrow. This side is always your initial side. And then the other side is your terminal, and that one that we're going to make so we can turn it. So maybe your terminal side is here. But the initial side is always on the x-axis. So we're going to add some information here. Let's see. So we're going to add some vocab here. The first one is standard position. An angle is in standard position I'm going to call that SP if its initial side is on the positive x-axis. A reference angle, our second vocab word, it's the acute angle formed with the terminal side and the x-axis. And then our last vocab is going to be a coterminal angle. And we can look at this coterminal, the same terminal angle. So two angles are terminal if they have the same terminal side. So we're going to take a look at these, and you guys will have your angles that we can form some of these too. So our first thing, if we were asked to find the reference angle, so our first one right here, let's say we had to find 123 degrees. So we could use our angle, or we know 123 is over here. Again, our reference angle is with the x-axis. So this is 180 and 123. So we want to know how far away that is. Well, what's 180 minus 123? We have 57 degrees would be our reference angle. So if we look at another one, 367 degrees. Well, where's 367 degrees? Well, that's all the way around is 360. So 367 would be right here. And again, we want to know with the x-axis. So that's just 7 degrees. The third one we're going to take a look at is, what if we have negative 139 degrees? And we need to find the reference angle. Well, we can make it a positive angle by adding 360. So if we were to draw this, over here is 180, so 201 is down here. And again, we want to find that difference, how far from the x-axis. So we can say 201 minus 180, well, that's 21 degrees. And then the last one we're going to take a look at is, what if we have 715 degrees? Well, that's a little large, so we can find some that are coterminal. So we could subtract 360 because that would have the same terminal side, and we end up with 355. So once again, if we were to draw this one, 360 is right here, so 355 is in this fourth quadrant. And how far from the x-axis? That's 5 degrees. Now in a couple days we're going to talk about our special right angles. So right now what we're going to talk about is we want to know what are the angles with a 30-degree reference angle. So when we look at that, we're talking about, we have all these different 30-degree reference angles. It could be here, here, in the third quadrant, or in the fourth quadrant. So what are these actual angles? Well, in the first quadrant, this is 30 degrees. If this is 180, 30 degrees less would be 150 degrees. 30 degrees past 180 is 210 degrees. And then 30 degrees, here's 360, less would be 330. So those are all of our reference angles with 30. If we were to do the same thing with a 45-degree reference, again, we can draw in all these 45s. And then what are these actual angles here? So this first quadrant is 45 degrees, but again, if this is 180, 180 minus 45 is 135, 180 plus is 225, and 360 minus 45 is 315. So the last special angle we're going to take a look at, what about 60 degrees? So if we were to draw those in again, 60, 60, here's all of our reference angles. What are these actual angles? Well, 60 degrees in the first quadrant, 180 minus 60 is 120, 180 plus 60 is 240, and then 360 minus 60 is 300. So that's a lot about reference angles. The last thing we're going to do is talk about these coterminals. So we'll make a little table here. Given an angle, what is a positive coterminal? We'll say, let's do another column with a negative coterminal. And then we'll do one last one with what is that actual reference angle? So let's start with 330 degrees. How can we find a positive coterminal? Well, we could add 360. So if we add 360, that would be, let's see, 690 degrees. If we need to get a negative one, let's just start subtracting 360. So that would be negative 30 degrees. And then how far is 330 from the x-axis? Well, that's 30 degrees. So let's try one last one. Let's say we have 140 degrees. What would be a positive one? Well, if we add 360, we got 500 degrees. If we subtract it, that would be negative 220. And then how far from the x-axis? Well, that would be 40 degrees.